Hey everybody, welcome back to Welch's Math class. It is so good to see you. We're in Module 6 and we're talking about percents, and we're into some percent applications. In particular, we're going to talk about sales tax, that nasty, dirty sales tax that we all have to pay on things that we buy. Oh my goodness. Alright, so what we want to be able to do is calculate how much sales tax should be on something when we purchase something. Okay? And so we've got two methods to calculate sales tax. One is the equation method. Okay, the equation method. In the equation method, what we do is we simply say whatever the item cost times the tax rate will equal the tax. Okay, so in my example that I've got right here, it would be the item costs $14. The tax rate is 7%, which we will have to, in this method, we have to change the 7% to a decimal, 0.07. And then we'll multiply that together. Let me find my antique calculator here. So I'm going to go 14 times 0.07 equals 98. So it looks like my tax is 0.98. So in other words, that would essentially be 98 cents. 98 cents. So my tax is 98 cents. Alright, now to calculate my total cost, I simply take the cost of the item and add the tax. You always add tax to what you have to buy, right? So, you know, just catch hold of that. So the total cost of this item is $14 plus 98 cents. It is 14. Let's see if we can write that out. 14.98. 14.98. Alright, so this is called the equation method. Okay, so as we set up an equation and we work this out to get our tax. Remembering that when we use the equation method, we must change the rate, the percentage, to a decimal by moving the decimal 2 places back to the left. Or another way is to do 7 divided by 100. Now, let's do another problem, and I want to show you the second method. I want to show you the second method. And actually, the second method is my preferred method. This time we're going to buy something. We're going to buy something that costs $27.69. And let's have a tax rate of 6.5%. It's a little bit more difficult problem just in general, isn't it? This second method, though, is called the proportion method, and we're going to use a proportion model. The proportion model that we'll set up will essentially be a proportion where we have the cost of the item here. We have our amount of tax that we're paying here. We have our tax rate here. And we have the number 100 here. It's very similar to the model of part over whole equals percent over 100, because tax is simply part of cost. Part over whole, percent over 100. And so this is our percent number. Alright, so if we take the information and we put it into the proportion, once we've got this model, let's take that info, let's plug it in to the model. Of course, this is 100. Now, my tax rate is 6.5%. Now, I'm going to change 6.5 to simply 6.5. I'm going to put that here. Now, notice I do not have to move the decimal like I did with the equation method. I just make my 6.5% into a decimal number, 6.5. If I had done this with the equation method, not only would I do this, I would have had to move the decimal 2 places back to the left. But that saves us from having to move the decimal by using this proportion method. Now, the cost of the item we're working on, that we're purchasing, is $27.69. And we're looking for, what's the tax? That's what we're looking for. How much tax will we pay on that item? Now, hopefully you remember from previous work how to solve a proportion. We're just going to use our little shortcut that we've talked about before and cross multiply and divide. So we'll go 27.69. I'm going to multiply that times 6.5. Okay, so let me put that down here so you'll see it. Put it into your notes. 2769 times 6.5. Now that's going to come out at equal 179.985. Alright, so you remember now to solve this proportion, we cross multiply, then divide by the other number. So we'll now take this quantity, divide it by 100. So I won't even worry about popping that in my calculator. If I do pop it in, well, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for your benefit here. Divided by 100 equals, okay, so I'm getting now for an answer 1.79985. Now, remember, we're talking about sales tax, so this is actually money. This is a money quantity that we're talking about right here. Money quantities need to be rounded off to the second decimal place. Remember, this is a dollar bill, this is dimes, this is pennies, cents. We don't have coins for this back here, so we've got to round this off to the nearest cent. Here's the cent place right here. This 9 is going to round that up to a 0, and it's going to round that up to an 8. And so what we end up with here is 1.80. The tax here on this is 1.80 or $1.80. $1.80. Now, I know this didn't seem particularly easier than the other method mainly because we use some very difficult numbers here. But I promise you, this method, if you get used to setting this up, tax over cost, percent over 100, cross multiply and divide, way easy method to do this. So we got $1.80 tax. Now my total cost this time is going to be that $1.80. Let me grab hold of my antique again here. 1.80, $1.80 plus how much this thing cost, $27.69, because I'm adding tax. $29.49 is how much I should pay if the item that I'm buying costs this much, had this much as the tax rate, this much tax, and that's my total cost. Alright, so you got a couple methods there for calculating tax. I hope that's helpful to you. Go back to your problems there and use whichever method you prefer and work out a few of these. Practice a few of these problems where you figure out the tax and the total cost on an item. And I'll see you next time.